Hi and welcome to the show. I am your host, Rhone Thomas. You know, a lot of people cry. They cry when they cut onions, but you see the trick is to not form an emotional bond with the onion. Saw some laughs, alright? We're getting started. You know, people always tell me to go live out my dreams. But you see, I don't really want to be riding along a motorcycle with Jack Black in the side seat along the side of a Star Destroyer that's directly nose-diving into a black hole. Alright? Being with Jack Black, on the other hand, I'd be okay with that. It's the other stuff. Not so much. I mean, I'd like to live on and maybe even meet Jack Black. You know, I'd like to live on and do stuff, right? Yeah. Anyways, so, you know, ever since I joined the video film class here at Annalee, one of the big questions that I always get asked is, well, what was your first video you ever made, and what was it about, and when did you make it? And I always said, I honestly don't remember. So, folks, this big question, is about to be answered. So, a couple weeks ago, I was going through the archives, right? And I found the very first video I ever made. Well, I have a little treat for you all. I actually brought it here to the studio to share with you all. And so we're going to watch it, and then I'll give a little backstory on it. So, let's take a look.
One fine day at the Muppet Studios, Gonzo decided to shoot himself out of his cannon, but he shot himself way too far, and he ended up in space. The other Muppets came out to see what was going on, and realizing that Gonzo had gone into space, they decided to do something about it. Gonzo, meanwhile, had landed on a desert island in the middle of the red hole of Jupiter. The Muppets drove across the Golden Gate Bridge. To a rocket launch site, where they promptly got on a rocket and shot themselves into space. While in space, they managed to pass all of the planets, but still somehow crash-landed next to Gonzo on his island. Upon finding him, they were really, really happy to see him. So they lifted him over their heads, tossed him in the rocket, and they all decided to go home. But flying a rocket isn't as easy as it looked, so they ended up crashing back into their stage at the Muppet Studios. The end.
Okay. Not too bad, not too bad. I made that back in the summer of, well, actually, no, I didn't make that single-handedly. I couldn't, right? I obviously was not the narrator, right? I was a part of a group that put that together. I was the lead. I remember being the leading force. I vaguely remember being the leading force behind that team. But yeah, so I made that back in the summer of 2014. I was the writer, director, and I also drew some of the characters as well. Anyways, so I just got a question for you all here in the audience. Raise your hand if you love Back to the Future. Quite a few of you, okay? Raise your hand if you, or I should also raise my hand because I also truly do love Back to the Future. Raise your hand if you like, not love, because like but I mean, like, just you think it's okay. You can have an appreciation for it, or you like it. Okay, some of you. Raise your hand if you dislike Back to the Future. Some of you. Alright, not too bad. I was expecting a bit more, but that's okay. Need I ask this question? How many of you think that Back to the Future is the worst film and does not deserve to be watched at all? One person. One person out of all of you. One person. One person out of all of you thinks, okay, alright, thinks that it should never be watched and that's the worst movie ever. Alright. I honestly love Back to the Future. It's my favorite movie. Anyways, so, I was scrolling through the web a couple of days ago, and I found this really cool Back to the Future poster about a reboot starring Tom Holland and Christopher Lloyd. So I actually downloaded the poster and I brought it here to the studio to share with all of you. So let's have a quick look at it. Not too bad. It's not too bad. It's actually a pretty good poster. Yeah, so it's a pretty good poster, and honestly, if they were to do a remake, I think that Tom Holland would be the perfect choice to have play Marty McFly. I think he'd be the perfect choice to play Marty McFly. Anyways, so on the note of Back to the Future, I was scrolling through YouTube, and I found this Back to the Future. Actually, I wasn't directly on YouTube. I was actually on Giant Freaking Robot. And I check that on a pretty regular basis. Raise your hand if you've never heard of Giant Freaking Robot before. Wow, more than half of you. Raise your hand if you like Giant Freaking Robot. Raise your hand if you're like me and you've heard about it from a friend, but you've procrastinated on actually checking it out. Okay, a good amount of you. Raise your hand if you like Giant Freaking Robot, because I do. After eventually going to check it out, I actually found out that it's a pretty good site, and I like it. It's actually pretty good. Anyway, so I was going through Giant Freaking Robot, and I found this Back to the Future 4 trailer. And so I actually reached out to the YouTuber. He's actually a very popular YouTuber. It's the Smasher YouTube page. So I reached out to him, and I asked him if I could show his trailer, his Back to the Future 4 trailer, to all of you, and then do a initial reaction to it. Right, and so. He was very nice, respectful guy, and he gave me permission. So thank you to Smasher YouTube channel for giving me permission to show your YouTube video, and so I actually have the Back to the Future 4 YouTube trailer, Back to the Future 4 trailer. Here to share with all of you, and then afterwards you'll get my reaction, and we'll go on with the rest of the show. So.
You're missing the big picture here. If time travel were possible, it would be the greatest ethical and philosophical conundrum of the modern age. If you had that kind of power, what would you do? What would you change? Time travel. Chris Scott.
What
Be back in one piece. He left?
Wow, that's a really good trailer. I mean, that is, I mean, it's a pretty good trailer. I mean, you guys saw you guys saw me go back behind stage and come back out with the Back to the, you guys in the audience, you guys saw me go back behind the seating and grab my big Back to the Future book and check to make sure that they weren't, double check my information that I had, because, so for those of you who don't know, I'm one of the biggest Back to the Future fans out there, and I've known for years, like specifically, not years, I've known ever since I watched the first film, I knew that they weren't making a Back to the Future 4. Because I after watching Back to the Future for the first time, I automatically dove into it. I nosedived into the film franchise, and I threw myself that, I basically absorbed almost any form of media that I could that was relating to Back to the Future. I've watched the 107 Facts video on Back to the Future. I've read books. I've read the complete history of all the behind-the-scenes stuff book. And, I know almost everything about Back to the Future. Anyways, so that's a pretty good trailer. So that trailer, like, even though I already had the pre-existing idea in my head that they weren't going to make a Back to the Future 4, that trailer honestly made me think that they were going to do a Back to the Future 4, considering they brought back Christopher Lloyd, and they specifically brought in Michael J. Fox to do that opening scene, which I thought it was just really good. Yeah, so it was really good, I think. Yeah, so on to the next part of our show. So some highlights for the week. I should have done this earlier, but whatever. We're doing some backtracking a little bit. So some highlights of the week. Friday was National Carrot Cake Day. Or no, it wasn't Friday. Sorry, it was like Thursday, Thursday was, I'm pretty sure it was Thursday was National Carrot Cake Day, and Monday was National Dark Chocolate Day. Who here likes dark chocolate? Wow, a lot of you like dark chocolate. I don't even need to ask how many of you don't like dark chocolate. How many of you all, in the audience here, out of all you guys, who likes carrot cake? Wow, a lot of you. I don't even need to ask who doesn't like carrot cake. I love both. Actually, I don't love both. I like carrot cake. Actually, no. I like dark chocolate, and I love carrot cake. I remember one day I actually went to school, and this is a true story. One day I went to school, or on the way to school, the carpooler, the driver, the guy who would pick me up from my house and take me to school, really great guy. Him and his family are great. They would drop us off at Safeway. So what I did once, since I didn't have breakfast and I didn't really have much of a lunch, I went into Safeway and I had some cash and I knew exactly what I wanted to buy from the get-go of getting into the vehicle heading down to Safeway. So I go in and I grab myself two little, like one slice containers of carrot cake. So I basically bought myself two cube pieces of carrot cake, and I had one for breakfast, and I didn't actually eat it till after my first class, so I actually started eating it during my break, but then I wasn't able to because I had to rush over to my third period English class. And during our break in our English class, I pulled out my slice of cake and went in the back corner of the room, and I just started chowing down on that piece of carrot cake. And then I had the other piece for lunch. So that day I think I was pretty good on carrot cake. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I was a Reese's Reese's. I was definitely a Reese's person. I definitely still am. I am definitely a chocolate candy person, and at the time I was always having a donut or a bagel. I mean, it got to the point where at one point I would walk in, go to the deli or the bakery or the Starbucks, and I'd walk up, and the lady would look at me, the cashier lady, and the Starbucks, she would ask me, "Your usual?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it would be a big order of like 2 brownies and a couple frappuccinos and stuff like that. I mean, I spent a lot of money at Safeway in my freshman year of high school. And for those of you freshmen out there that are watching this, I highly recommend you don't do it, because it gets really expensive really fast. Especially if you do it on a daily basis like I was. And I'm surprised my weight wasn't being affected, but I mean, I was pretty active at the time. But anyways, so back to the show. Yeah, back to the regular planned course of the show. Anyway, so recently it was announced that the studio. Who here likes Beetlejuice, starring Michael Keaton? Wow, all of you guys like Beetlejuice. How many of you all here remembers watching Beetlejuice as a kid? Around the time it came out. Some of you. Alright, that's not too bad. Alright, cool. Well, for those of you who love Beetlejuice, I think it's okay. It's an okay movie. Michael Keaton's good. He's a good actor. Anyway, so Beetlejuice, it's been reported that there is going to be a sequel to Beetlejuice. Michael Keaton will be returning as Beetlejuice. There is no set release date. I'm kind of excited about it. There's not much information as to what it will be about, but I'm kind of excited for it. Okay, who here liked, growing up, who here liked Hocus Pocus? Wow, 50% of you. Okay, so there's also going to be a Hocus Pocus 2. I'm excited for it. It's going to have a very similar cast to the first one, right? The 3 witches are all returning. As of right now, things could get changed, right? But as of right now, the 3 witches from the first film are returning. So that's going to be exciting. Again, there's no set release date for this film. So yeah, I mean, it's some exciting stuff for the film industry. That's some exciting stuff, I think. Anyways, so. Sorry, I tend to do a little. Anyways, who here can picture Dr. Emmett Brown being played by Jeff Goldblum? Some of you. Wow. Wow, okay. Okay, that's not bad. Not bad. Alright. Out of all of you here, who can picture Marty McFly being played by Johnny Depp? Around the film still being released in the same year. So it'd be a young Johnny Depp and a younger Jeff Goldblum. Okay, some of you. Okay. Well, those 2 actors were both considered for those 2 roles. The film would have been very different if they went with those actors. I think it's kind of interesting to consider what a film would have been like if they had picked a different actor. You know, for Back to the Future's case, I tend to wonder, would Back to the Future be as good as it was if they didn't bring in Michael J. Fox to play Marty and they kept Eric Stoltz as the role of Marty? it probably would still be good, because you would have you would have Christopher Lloyd. There, I was blanking on the name there for a second, but you'd still have Christopher Lloyd as Doc, but then you would have Eric Stoltz as Marty. So it would have been a little different, but it probably would have been a little bit the same. Who here didn't know that Eric Stoltz was the original actor playing? I mean, Michael J. Fox was always the studio's first pick, but Michael J. Fox, because due to scheduling complications, he was, at the time Michael J. Fox was filming Family Ties, so he was unavailable. So who here didn't know that Eric Stoltz was the actor who they had playing Marty in the beginning of filming? Wow. None of you guys here knew that. I just taught you all something new. Fascinating, isn't it? Yeah, it is actually it's kind of fascinating, don't you think? Anyway, so who here is a Marvel fan? I shouldn't even ask. Wow, all of you. Okay. Hey, even some of our sound people, or not sound, but even some of our security people from back behind are raising their hand. How wonderful. So almost pretty much everybody here, and why am I not? I gotta be better about raising my hand. I should get, you know how Jimmy Kimmel Live, they have Guillermo, right, to help Jimmy Kimmel out and stuff. I should get someone to be like Guillermo. I should have someone standing off stage to remind me of things when I forget on stage. But I don't have a Guillermo. Anyways, speaking of Guillermo, happy late 50th birthday. His 50th birthday just passed a couple weeks ago. So happy late birthday to you. What was I going to say? This is why I need a stage assistant. Anyways, so, okay, so Marvel, that's right, Marvel. So Thor Love and Thunder, raise your hand if you didn't know about Thor Love and Thunder. Okay, good. No one raised their hands. That's good. That means everybody here knew about, who here is extremely excited for Thor Love and Thunder? Okay, good. Pretty much everybody. Anyways, so Thor Love and Thunder just recently started filming back in January, and about 3 days ago, we got our first set photos. So I actually brought them here to the studio to share with all of you, and then I might briefly talk about them before we go into closing for this tonight's episode. All right, so let's take a quick look. Alright, so some pretty cool stuff. Now if you look closely at Thor's pants, you can tell that it's the blue pants with black boots with yellow straps around it, right? So that's obviously like the lower half of Thor's costume in this film. It's definitely taking some inspiration from Jack Kirby's original costume for the comic book costume for the original character. So I think it's cool that the costume designers are honoring the original comic book character creators with the costumes of the characters in the new films. I think it's kind of cool I think it's kind of funny how Thor's shirt is sleeveless. I think he's definitely trying to show off how he's trying to bring himself back to the Thor gloriness that he once was before Endgame. I was actually kind of sad to see that we weren't going to get Fat Thor again. I thought we were going to get Fat Thor in Thor Love and Thunder, and then see glorious, muscular Thor in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But it's okay. I think it's kind of cool. He trimmed his beard, which I think is okay. Now going to Star-Lord's character outfit, he's definitely grown out a beard. That's definitely a new change. And then his costume's been updated. It's like you can tell it's the same, not the same, but it's the same jacket, same red jacket that he had in the original Guardians movies. But they've done some editing. They've done some new additions, not additions, but they have added to the costume, and I think that's kind of cool. So Anyway, so great stuff. Giant Freakin', for those of you who have been procrastinating on going to check out Giant Freakin' Robot, I strongly advise that you do it now, because if you're a huge Marvel fan like I am, now is the time to be going onto that site, because you're gonna get all the new leaks on set photos, new TV shows and films that they're doing, and all the new leaks about that. So if you want all the goodies, as I call it, the goodies, you want all the cookies that are in the cookie jar. Here, look at it this way. Marvel's future projects are the cookies. Giant Freakin' Robot is the cookie jar. I strongly advise that you go after that cookie jar, if you want to get all the cookies, because they're pretty good cookies. That just sounds really wrong now that I think about it. Anyway, so great show. Alright, so with that, I am concluding the episode. So again, thank you all for your lively participation, and for those of you watching at home, for those of you who are watching this at home, I suggest, if you want to join the fun. For those questions that I asked, about like your opinions on things that I asked, put your answers in the chat. I think it's cool to get some liveliness, between me and the audience, and then me and the at-home audience. So via the chat. So I look forward to seeing some of your guys' responses, if there will be any. Thank you for all of you who have come to tonight's show. I enjoy being the host, and I'm excited that we were able to come back. So, I'm Rhone Thomas, signing off. Rhone Thomas Live, Episode 2. Thank you very much.